Hey everyone, today I'm taking a look at the smartphone market focused on 2020's big two launches, Apple's iPhone SE 2 and Samsung's S20 range. I know Huawei's number 2 now, but their growth has primarily come in China. We'll focus on Apple and Samsung. Both companies have adopted completely opposite strategies. Apple has gone budget, launching the iPhone SE 2 at $499, whereas Samsung has gone premium, launching the S20 starting at $999 and the super premium S20 Ultra starting at $1,499. Which strategy will work in 2020 and why are these companies adopting completely opposite strategies? Let's dig deep to find out. Let's begin with the basic question: which company is selling more phones? Both companies report their results differently. Apple follows the October to September fiscal year and Samsung follows the calendar year. So I'll also follow calendar years because it makes it easier to understand. So in terms of the number of devices sold, Samsung sold 296 million mobile phones in 2019, whereas Apple sold 193. So Samsung is ahead of Apple in terms of unit shipments by more than 100 million. In terms of market share, this translates to a 14% market share for Apple and close to 21% for Samsung. But we now look at another important event which happened in September 2019 when Apple announced its latest line of iPhones. Apple CEO Tim Cook.
The next generation of iPhone, and it is jam-packed with great new capabilities in an incredible new design.
He was right, Apple 11, a very capable device, but its best feature was probably its prices. iPhone 11, the mid-range phone, which is equivalent to last year's most popular model iPhone XR, was actually priced $50 cheaper than the XR, which started at $750. The iPhone 11 Pro and the Pro Max were consistent with the XS models, which were at $999 and $1099. So Apple was actually listing. It actually made its most popular model $50 cheaper. But before we give too much credit to Apple for listening to customers and dropping prices, let's not forget another announcement in 2019 when Apple actually announced a monitor stand which costs a super cheap budget $1,000 for a monitor stand. Yes. So the iPhone 11 was a smash hit. Great camera, great battery life and a super price point. This meant that the iPhone 11 was the best-selling phone in every single week of the holiday season. Also helped Apple gain a market share in markets like India, where iPhone sales jumped 200% in Q4 2019. It also gave Apple its highest revenue figures for any quarter in its history. So in terms of device sales, Apple actually outsold Samsung in Q4 2019, shipping 70.7 million units. Its market share went up to 18.9%, making it the largest smartphone vendor in the world. But more importantly, revenues. iPhone actually brought in $56 billion in revenue to Apple compared to Samsung. Despite having comparable number of sales, Samsung's revenue from the smartphone industry was just close to $20 billion. So why is Samsung's revenue from the smartphone market 1/3 than that of Apple? Let's look at the top 10 selling models in 2019. Comparable sales figures means there were 5 Apple models in the top 10, 4 Samsung models. But the most important differentiator is the price points at which these phones are selling. Let's take a quick look. Boom. iPhones are selling at a significant premium compared to Samsung's best-selling models, which if you take a look, the A10, the A50, A20s are all in the $150 to $300 price range, whereas Apple's best models are selling at close to $700. This is why Apple's revenue figures are close to 3 times that of Samsung, despite comparable sales numbers and significantly higher margins. This is also reflected in the operating profit shares from the smartphone market, where Apple's share of the profits is close to 66%, whereas Samsung is around 20%. Next, I want to discuss a phenomena which many people are calling peak smartphone. This means that customers are not replacing their phones as fast as they used to. The new hardware and software innovations that the latest models are offering are not enticing enough for customers to want those models over the current models that they already have. Phones are lasting longer than they used to. So the mobile smartphone market is actually pretty stagnant. Sales have remained consistent over the last couple of years, and the year-on-year growth for smartphones obviously is showing a steady decline. So Peak Smartphone explains both Apple and Samsung strategies. Apple is selling phones at a very good margin, but needs a larger customer base to keep its revenues growing. It also needs additional product lines because smartphones is a stagnant market. Samsung, on the other hand, is moving plenty of units, but it needs to move to the higher end of the market with larger price points and higher margins. So the two new models that the companies have come out with, the iPhone SE2 for Apple and the S20 range for Samsung, follows these exact strategies. So Apple needs new product lines and a larger market base, and Samsung needs to move to the premium end of the market with higher margins. For the new product lines, Apple actually introduced the smash hit AirPods and followed it up with the AirPods Pro in 2019, along with the Apple Watch Series 5. The AirPods have been an amazing product for Apple, bringing in unbelievable amount of revenue. So how much money could these glorified Bluetooth earphones bring? Quite a lot, more than the total revenues of many tech companies. AirPods brought Apple more revenue than Adobe, Nvidia, AMD, and almost as much as Uber. It also became a social and a cultural phenomena. People saw almost all their favorite celebrities wearing AirPods and wanted them too, leading to stupid things like this. AirPods became the latest flex in town.
Oh, I'm not even listening to anything. I don't mean to be cocky, but I'm in the 1%.
I'm in a meeting. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Y'all poor as fuck!
And stupid pranks like this one, where a guy made AirPod life-size stickers and stuck them all over. So new product lines covered by the AirPods and the new Apple Watch Series 5. Larger customer base, Apple creates the iPhone SE. It takes an iPhone 8 essentially and puts the latest A30 Bionic chips, which is found in its iPhone 11s and iPhone 11 Pros. This means a smaller phone, a cheaper phone, but which has all the features that a customer typically needs. Great battery, 4K video, wireless charging, water resistance. Yes, this phone at a lower price point could actually be Apple's next big product in 2020. Samsung obviously went the premium route, like we discussed, launched the S20 and the S20 Ultra. S20 is a decent incremental phone, brings new features like the 120Hz refresh rate on its screen and 5G support. S20 Ultra is where Samsung has gone all out, has crazy features like 100x zoom on its cameras, 1TB storage, but as we discussed in Peak Smartphone, still not features I believe customers will pay for. So both relatively good phones, but I think Samsung missed a trick by not competing with the iPhone 11 and instead going really premium with a $999 entry flagship and a $1499 phone in the S20 Ultra. So let's take a quick look at how the market has received these phones. iPhone SE, great reviews, people are loving the features and the price point. Both says it's everything you need. Strong case against more expensive $1,000 phones. S20, lightweight, cheap, future-proof, well done. That's what TechRadar says. Best cheap phone ever. So iPhone SE is actually doing pretty well and may give Apple its larger market base that it's aiming with this model. Let's look at the S20 now. All reviews are almost the same. It's a good phone. It's slightly expensive at $999. Decent feature set. Features like 5G, 120Hz display, but it's at $999. Does it have any features for customers to choose this over the iPhone 11 that sits at $699? Not really. It has the latest Snapdragon 865 chipset, but the OnePlus 8 Pro also features the same and may very well undercut Samsung in the flagship Android market. And on the S20 Ultra, no one wants this phone at $1499. All reviews say the same. Overkill, disappointment, too much for most, too much. And even the advertised camera has not done very well and has had some issues. So this phone is a failure from Samsung. So in conclusion, I believe Apple is set to have a great year in 2020 with the iPhone 11 and the iPhone SE. Samsung seems to have missed a trick by going too premium with the S20 Ultra and not competing in the entry-level flagship segment with the iPhone 11. It had an S10e in its last generation of phones. It has cut that out and gone with a $999 entry point, which may not sit well with the customers. Another big factor is 5G. The Samsung flagship phones are already 5G enabled, but I don't think 2020 will see too much uptake due to 5G, and Apple is playing it right by waiting out the 5G models to 2021. That's been my video. Thank you. Like, share and subscribe, and please leave a comment if I've goofed up somewhere. See you next time.